All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Fantasy Sports Boss with another Drive Time podcast. Very busy day today, so live stream going to be difficult today, but definitely we'll be doing a live stream tomorrow, and then, of course, Football Friday. But there are some things I wanted to talk about today. Of course, the Nick Chubb situation first and foremost, and Kareem Hunt signing with the team today. What does this mean for Jerome Ford and the distribution of carries going forward? Also, Saquon Barkley officially ruled out as the practice reports are already starting to come in today. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. The channel's growing exponentially and is growing quick, and thanks to you guys. I really appreciate all the support as always. But I begin today, obviously, with the Nick Chubb situation. The fact that obviously we know it's just beyond devastating, the injury. You know, ESPN chose not to show it for obvious reasons, because it was just beyond hideous how bad the injury was, and you knew right away he was going to be done for the year. I mean, you know, when a player when he gets carted off, and then they quickly within 5 minutes rule him out for the game, you know it's devastating. And obviously that's what happened to Nick Chubb. And just, you know, the sheer attention from the fantasy football community on this. I talked about this the other day when I did the instant injury video on Nick Chubb about a minute after it happened. Within another minute, it was already, 500 views on it. And it wound up getting 7,000 views in just a few hours. So that's how, attuned to fantasy. Whenever a big name like that goes down, everybody, it's like one of those moments, even if you don't own Nick Chubb, it's like one of those moments twofold that you're upset for the guy because, he's a great football player. And we all love football more than fantasy, right? I mean, first and foremost, we're football fans. And then the second thing is, in fantasy, it's one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, somebody's season just went to shit, potentially, and it's not mine. And you breathe a sigh of relief. When it's you, it's the worst feeling, not the worst feeling in the world. Obviously, real life things much worse. But in the fantasy realm, it's the worst feeling in the world because, you start already, like if you're a Nick Chubb owner, you're saying to yourself, oh my God, how am I gonna replace him? I gotta go out and get Jerome Ford. Is Jerome Ford available? Is Kareem Hunt gonna get assigned there? Like, well, what do I do? Who do I have on my bench? And it becomes this, and it's only literally not even 2 weeks into the season, and the panic just really starts to set in. So Kareem Hunt was signed today. That was the other big news of the day for the Browns. And, a couple of reactions that I had to this. One is that even before the signing became official, the obvious inference was that Kareem Hunt was going to come back to Cleveland. It just made too much sense. He knows the system. He's been there for however many years under Kevin Stefanski. So it just made way too much sense for that not to happen. That being said, he was available in both my leagues. I did not put a waiver claim in on him. And I don't regret not getting it because I don't think Kareem Hunt, I think he's just going to reprise the role that he had last year. I think the Browns are very enamored and intrigued with Jerome Ford, who, let's face it, had a really good game, replacing Chubb. And it was impressive. He can catch the ball. He's got good speed. I know that, a lot of his numbers were skewed a bit by the one big play. But I think Kareem Hunt is not coming in to be a 50-50 guy or even to take the majority of touches. I think he's going to be, more or less a, 70-30 split kind of guy on the short end of that. And that doesn't really, present itself as far as making much of a fantasy impact. So, even if Hunt managed to clear waivers, if you have a spare spot on your bench, okay, maybe just, see what happens there. But I was not proactively after him, and, I don't regret not having him. So tomorrow night, Giants, San Francisco, first game of the week. And, the Giants, this is going to be a tough game for them. Saquon Barkley was officially ruled out just about an hour ago. It was really kind of a bunch of nonsense that Brian Daboll refused to rule him out yesterday. It was complete gamesmanship, no doubt about it. But Barkley, there was no way when, the initial estimate was he was going to miss 3 weeks that he was going to play in this Thursday game. No way. Brandon Ayuk, with his shoulder injury, clavicle, he is listed as questionable. I think it's going to be tough for him to play as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that if you're a Brandon Ayuk owner. If you're a Saquon Barkley owner, Matt Breida, I'll say it again, nice player, has done some decent things in the past. in small doses, he is not a fantasy football asset. In very deep leagues, maybe as a flex, and he can catch the football. His speed is okay, but he's not gonna do anything for you in terms of fantasy, and that's just the reality of it. And they're probably going to sprinkle in Gary Brightwell and the rookie from Oklahoma as well. So I don't see any path to fantasy relevancy for him. This week, especially going against the San Francisco 49ers, which is a really, really, really tough matchup for them. For him, for the Giants. Giants' offensive line has been really bad. Evan Neal especially. Now he's going to have to deal with, one half of the Bosa tandem wrecking the NFL. And I think it's going to be a really long day for the Giants on Thursday. So no actionable move there in terms of Matt Breida. A couple other things, and listen. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, it was a really bad game against the Kansas City Chiefs for them offensively. Zay Jones is banged up. I had a little bit of a feeling after watching that game against the Chiefs, is this going to be a scenario where a different guy leads the team in receiving every week? Calvin Ridley obviously was the guy week 1. Christian Kirk was the guy week 2. Evan Engram is drawing consistent targets. What does this mean? Is this going to be a frustrating move the ball around every week kind of deal? Well, for somebody who was really all in on Calvin Ridley, I don't think that's going to be as much of a threat to him as some people are saying. Again, he could have had 2 touchdowns, didn't bring the ball down. The one back of the end zone he definitely should have had. And that would have changed the whole tenor of the outing for Calvin Ridley. So he's the most talented receiver on this team. He's going to lead this team in receiving. With Zay Jones out, Christian Kirk is now a flex play. Evan Engram is an every week starter. I thought he would see less targets the first 2 weeks, so I'm encouraged by that. But I don't think this is in any way a detriment to Calvin Ridley. And getting back to the Browns real quick, Deshaun Watson. So I was getting some questions on Deshaun Watson. Listen, I was very high on him because of the value coming into the season. And I'll admit, I was sounding the horns on him, right? This, still 27, not that long ago, led the NFL in passing, 400, yards per, rushing guy each year at quarterback, which is fantasy gold. But I have to admit, he has not looked good at all. And here's the irony of all ironies. Baker Mayfield is 2-0 with Tampa, right? Deshaun Watson, all that money they gave him is absolutely shitting the bed. I know he's running a little bit. That saves his fantasy floor a little bit. But he has not been good in either game. He struggled in the summer. He struggled badly last year. We are now past the point, in my opinion. Now, he's got an easy matchup this week against Tennessee. Not an easy matchup for Jerome Ford. But easy matchup for Watson. If he can't do it this week, and I said this about Rachaad White last week when he had his smash spot with the Bears. I said if Rachaad White can't produce against the Bears, it's not going to happen. If Deshaun Watson cannot produce against the Tennessee Titans, who are comically bad stopping the pass, then I think we're at the point now where we have to start to look for alternatives. And I'll admit that I was completely wrong on the guy. No doubt about it. To me, it was him, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. Those are the guys I really liked a lot. Lamar Jackson. I ended up with Hurts and Josh Allen in my 2 leagues just because that's the way the draft unfolded. Both guys were sitting there in the 3rd round. I couldn't resist the value. But it's certainly troubling the way things are looking for Deshaun Watson. Same thing with Justin Fields. So Justin Fields, who, he's got a little bit of an attitude problem. He's already chirping about the coaching, about the play calling. Not what you want to see from a 3rd-year guy who has really struggled, has issues with turnovers, can't stop throwing interceptions and fumbling the ball, not progressing as a passer, all right? So, constantly banged up as well. I said coming into the season I was very concerned about his passing acumen, if he's going to be able to make the inroads and the improvements there. We have not seen that. It's been ugly. There's now some dysfunction brewing. This 0-2 team, who brought in DJ Moore, and once again, DJ Moore absolutely wasting his prime years in an offense that just doesn't have a quarterback, just like in Carolina. You got to feel for the guy. He's a supreme talent. and now Justin Fields is clashing with the coaching staff. Not good sign at all. 16 plus fantasy points each of his first 2 games. Collected garbage time points. You know, I'm not going to say I was right on him. It's still early in the season, but he should have been beyond these, at least to a point, showing signs of moving past that inconsistency as a passer that marred his first 2 years in the NFL, and just really don't show any signs of getting any better. So the Bears 0-2. Things are going to start spiraling real soon if they don't pick up a win in their next 2 games. That's just a fact, no doubt about it. I think it's also the last call of Oscar Johnson. The bye window, you know, it stayed open because he didn't have a tremendous game last week. The buy window is still open on him. I think that he absolutely is worth, buying low on, and you want to make sure before that happens, before that window closes, that you get a share of him if you can. All right. So listen, there's a lot of guys already this season that sell high, buy low. It's like playing fantasy is like the stock market, right? You want to maximize your profits, and always stay ahead of the curve. Not hold on to an asset that could struggle for too long. That's how you want to do this. So, like Puka Nakau. If Cooper Kupp does come back week 5, it's inevitable his numbers are going to go down. He is not going to be the Puka Nakau who is breaking all sorts of records his first 2 weeks in the league. I mean, it's silly what he's doing. It's almost unheard of what he's been doing. But there's a guy right now that you could probably name your price on, all right? Prior to last week, I told you to buy low on T. Higgins. How did that work out, right? I think Puka Nakau, absolutely, you could almost name your price. Jamar Chase, he's the Joe Burrow situation. He may not play this week. That does lead me to be a little cautious. But, if you find a panicky Jamar Chase owner, it's still Jamar Chase, right? So, this is how you have to look at it. You have to look at these guys, in terms of stocks, selling high, buying low. Other thing today, Austin Eckler was not practicing. He was out on the sidelines. Aaron Jones did not practice. He warmed up and did not do anything. So we have to watch the status of both of these guys. I think Jones should be able to get back this week, but we're going to have to watch that. A.J. Dillon was just a non-factor in this place. I think that Austin Eckler is a little bit more iffy. Joshua Kelly did not perform, but it was a tough matchup against Tennessee. I know for me as a Kelly owner, I did put him out there, even though I won my matchup. He did not give me a lot of points. I don't even think it was 4 points. So I'm not going to put him back out there this week. I'm a little leery of him now, but he's still obviously the handcuff to own. And Austin Eckler, we have to see what the situation is there. Again, him, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, 3 of the top 5 fantasy running backs have already gotten hurt. One's done for the year. One's missing possibly up to 3 games. One has already missed a game, may miss a second. So this is how it's gone already at the running back position in fantasy. This is why you don't want to draft. Sorry about the sun there, guys. This is why you don't want to draft running backs early. I literally say it every single year. It never changes. Wide receivers just simply don't have the incident of injury that running backs do. Running backs are getting fall on, they're getting rolled up, they're twisting ankles, their knees are getting, bent at awkward, crazy angles, and, there's more of that coming. Jamal Williams got hurt. What are they going to do? Kendry Miller, Alvin Kamara is suspended. I picked up Kendry Miller where he was available in one of my leagues just to see what happens there, even though Kamara is going to be coming back after next week. There is a lot of running back tumult already. The Jets, they're being dragged down by, Breece Hall and Alvin Cook are being dragged down by the situation with Zach Wilson. So, it hasn't been good. Alexander Madison's been terrible. And again, I went value at running back. One league, I took James Conner, been great. David Montgomery was going great until he got hurt himself. I didn't even mention David Montgomery. And then I took Cam Akers, which obviously that was a big miscalculation, but it only cost me, I believe it was a 7th round draft pick. So, and then in my other league, I wound up drafting Aaron Jones, who, him too. He's already missed a game. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many of these guys are hurt. I drafted Aaron Jones. I drafted Rashad White, who I traded in a deal for Kenneth Walker. So those are my two top guys. And Antonio Gibson, I also traded him. And Tyler Algier is my third running back. So I don't have a lot of running back depth right now on that team. So that's the scary thing. As far as waivers, the only guy I picked up was Tank Dell. I got Tank Dell in both of my leagues. He made it through waivers in one league. And then in another league, I picked him up and Robert Woods in a hedge, thinking that Dell would be gone because I had a low waiver spot, and then I would just end up at Woods. I don't want both of them. I already cut Woods. And I got Tank Dell, who, listen, he's a smallish guy, smallish receiver, but he's got a lot of talent, and he's already putting up numbers. And here's the thing, guys. C.J. Stroud, listen, he absolutely is showing that he should be, especially in a Superflex league, he should now be started every week. In single quarterback leagues, you might want to wait a little bit longer, but he has been really good. And this is a guy who I had ranked behind only Bryce Young in my quarterback rankings. Really liked him coming out of college. I know there was a lot of talk about the curse of Ohio State quarterbacks, and that is, listen, I mean, it's been ugly, no doubt, but this guy's got the goods. Very, very accurate deep ball thrower, very accurate passer, period, and he's got a really good thing going with Nico Collins, and as we've seen so far this season. So really happy with CJ Stroud, and like I said, he already has gained fantasy relevancy in my opinion. Like, he's been playing that well so far this season. I think he's going to continue to do so as well. They're going to be behind a lot of games. He's going to have to catch up. Garbage time points are going to be at a premium there. So pick him up, I think, if you're in a deeper league, especially one that plays two quarterbacks. He should be picked up already. That's for sure. No doubt about it. All right. So that's all for today, guys. Like I said, I'm going to be live tomorrow. So make sure you look for that. And also again on Friday. So good stuff coming, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will chat soon.